a lawyer back then would have been paid for him. I don't know.
What's the lawyer's name? Since you had an opinion on it, that lawyer had been paid, what is that lawyer's name?
You hear them discussing about flying a drone into the jail.
I did.
And did you hear them talking about a particular hole inside the jail in which they could fly the drone into?
Yes, a hole in the window. I'd say it was up for maybe 2 or 3 minutes.
She screenshotted this in 16 seconds as she had notifications on.
Things can get lost. That's your explanation. You can't lose something if you don't make it, can you?
So, Mr. SCHARDT asked you a very specific question, and you seem to have answered in a way that surprises everybody. So, we need to get some clarity from you. Okay, so can you listen? Has he even been tried for another murder? Okay, so don't say, I don't know the specific outcome if he has never been tried for one other than the one he's on trial for right now, okay? You understand? That is not anywhere near what he asked.
Day 162 of the YSL RICO trial was baffling. The state wraps up direct with investigator Viverito by showing text messages, songs, social media posts, and tattoos. Defense lawyers then begin cross-examination for their final time. Yep, this is the last witness, and it doesn't go very well for the state. Clearly in front of the jury, she's being a difficult witness by not answering any simple questions. The judge even has to warn her and calls out both Hylton and Viverito for being shady. It's ridiculous. Hit subscribe. Here we go, boys. First look at Gotti with the blue suit on and the bow tie. Okay. There's Doug. First look at Shannon. Got the striped suit on. Look at Max just patiently waiting to cross Viverito.
Are you able to tell the jury how many wiretap calls were monitored over the course of the month?
It was in the thousands. I don't have an exact number, but I want to say probably between 8 and 10.
8 and 10,000?
I believe so.
And as a gang investigator, is this the only wiretap investigation that you have conducted?
It is not.
Yeah, now, you know, they shot up Big Nick's spot I was in, though.
Oh, they shot up Big Nick's spot, bro?
Yeah, man. So we got down, we think they're gonna come back. We think they're gonna come back to 12, pulled up.
Big Nick's spot getting shot up.
Yeah.
You know, Quay had locked up. That's the only reason you ain't seen his ass.
I ain't even know that.
He locked up. That's the only reason you ain't seen him, huh?
So this is Lil D talking to someone about Big Nick's house getting shot up.
Mr. Garlington said they shot a Big Nick's spot.
I did.
And are you familiar with the location that they're saying is Big Nick's spot?
Yes.
And what location is that?
2830 Waters Road.
Oh, so that's like the trap house looking place with the surveillance?
Did you hear when Demikian Garlington gave the reason why he believed that they came through and shot a Big Nick's spot?
Yes.
Okay, and what was that?
That their boy had been killed in Mechanicsville.
I missed that part because it was hard to understand, but okay.
When someone says you don't have to drop on them, what does that mean?
Like the location, having their location.
This would be damning evidence if it was Shannon or Yak saying that, not Demikian.
Man, we think they're gonna come back through so we can hit them off up, man. 12 pull up. Hey, what? It out? Yeah, I'm like, yo. Before, like, we're gonna have to come in. We're gonna have to come in and goddamn make sure ain't nobody dead. Man, I hit the back door like that, but I'm on parole, man. All this shit in here, man.
Dude, I genuinely can't understand 80 to 90% of these calls, man.
Was there more information provided in these calls versus what Mr. Stillwell told you the night that you went and spoke to him that morning?
Yes.
Trying to call him, like, him and Clay got on a high-speed chase to the Baba house.
I think he said, what do they got Shannon for? Like, why is Shannon get arrested type shit?
Why the hell he in a high-speed chase if he in a rental? His rental legit.
Yeah.
He got my legit gun. Like, what the hell was in the car that made him say he wasn't kin?
Oh, so that's Shannon's girl saying he got my legit gun, like her gun that's legal. That's why they asked her that on the stand. And the rental is legit, is what she said.
So I don't know if he, where my gun at, I don't know what's going on. But I know he not dumb. He ride around my gun for a reason. So if he do get pulled over, see what I'm saying? It's clean. So I know he not done with it. I know I ain't worried about that. I'm just trying to figure out why the hell he locked up.
And for these two calls, it's only going to be Mr. Garlington's words that are evidence. You're not to consider the other speaker's statements against anyone or as substantive evidence in this trial on any count. It's just the conversation.
Yeah, and I just feel like Miss V on the nigga, boy. So I'm just trying to move cautious.
And again, did you hear when Mr. Garlington talked about Miss V?
I did.
Is that your understanding that's the name that they call you?
It is.
And is this call after Mr. Stillwell and Mr. Nichols have been arrested?
It is.
Did you hear Mr. Garlington say, they ain't saying my name, I just wanted to make sure?
I did.
And that he had seen something on the news?
Yes.
Remember, they say Demikian, the phone that's tapped, was in one of the cars, so he knows about the murder, he knows everything.
Are you familiar with individuals going to Miami after the shooting death of Mr. Donovan Thomas Jr.?
I am.
And in this call, did you hear Demikian Garlington say that they were getting ready to go out of town for a little while until stuff died down?
I did.
60% of you aren't subscribed. Come on, hit the subscribe bell.
Well, nigga ain't dead now, bro.
Say, let's talk around, OD.
I said, them boy gonna be good. But wow, you put my name in that shit.
Oh, hell no.
Yes.
Uh-oh. Shard didn't like something about that call.
You know so crazy. You know so crazy. I'm different car. You and tell you I just ran to the nigga, bro.
For real?
How you know? That what you calling me back?
No. They're not at all.
Oh, I thought nigga said something else.
What he said?
Not him. The nigga.
What he say?
Shit. You seen him turn his head.
So Demikian talking to someone about seeing a rival gang member.
Bro, you need to come over here and get me blick, bro.
I'm at, where the hell you at?
Did you hear the terminology used, blick, in that call?
I did.
Have you heard that term before?
I have.
What is your understanding what a blick is?
Meaning a firearm.
And did you also hear the terminology stick?
I did.
And have you heard that term before?
I have.
And what is your understanding of what a stick is?
A long gun or a rifle.
And did you hear them talk about drop the location for Little Head?
Yes.
Okay. Are you familiar with that nickname?
I am, but there's a few of them.
Okay.
The hotel in Court last night, right? Yeah. I run to a op. No, I ain't got nothing on me. I'm like, shit, but I'm finna go out here. I know everybody out here. Head, go to the gym, like, yeah, buddy seen me, turn the head. Yeah. He don't even know he got me down bad. Oh, definitely.
Bro said he ran to the op at the hotel, turned his head.
And what is your understanding of got me down bad?
He was unprepared, in a bad position, would have the upper hand.
Say something different. Like, you feel Shell got that. Shell don't want that. Or some shit. You know, he was older before we said something. I don't fuck that same name.
So I remember this situation. I can't understand this guy, but apparently wanted to change something out of a song that incriminated them. So that's the gist of this one.
Are you familiar with who Mr. Garlington was speaking with in that call?
I believe it's DeMarco Boyer.
Taking someone's name out of a song.
Yes.
And in that call, did they say the name of the person who they had to take out of the song?
I believe towards the end of the call they say Shell.
So DeMarco, Boyer, and Demekan talking about taking Shell Kell's name out of a song.
Social media, did you ever find a video in which there's a song referencing Shell Kell?
I did.
Okay. What are you screen grabbing?
His story.
There's Demekan and Shannon in the studio making a song, I think.
And was the verse something to the effect of Kell and whack being in that verse at the same time?
Yes.
And have you heard the terminology whacked before?
I have.
And what is your understanding of that terminology?
Killed.
I told her like tell him I need 1,000, but anything in between.
Somebody needs to take a restroom break, so let's go ahead and take a break right now.
If I was on the jury, I'd want to take a break as well. This man Shannon chilling, looking like he's like resting a little bit. Watch him shoot up right when the jury walks in.
Were you familiar with the voice that Demekan Garlington was speaking to on the last call we just heard?
Yes.
And whose voice was that?
That'll be Shannon Stillwell.
Right. And on that call, is Mr. Stillwell using the phones at the Fulton County Jail?
No, he's not.
From your review of the wiretap, did that appear to be a cell phone that he was using inside of the Fulton County Jail?
It did.
And did you hear early in the call where Mr. Stillwell said he had to stay off that MFR because they came to my house?
Yes.
Did you ever go to his grandmother's house to collect cell phones?
I did.
And when you went to his grandmother's house to collect cell phones, was that prior to this phone call?
Yes.
When there are cell phones being used in that jail, are they monitored? Outside of a wiretap, are they monitored?
No, they're not.
To your knowledge, had Miles been arrested for the SHYMEL Drinks homicide at this time?
I don't believe so.
Mr. Stillwell talking about, speaking of when they go to wipe it down, if they do that gunpowder, it's going to come back clean.
Yes.
Wait, what? I mean, technically you would say that if you're innocent. Like, what are they thinking? Like, if they wipe anything down, it's going to come back clean. I'm innocent. If I was arrested for a murder that I didn't do, I would say the same thing. Like, okay, go and test that. It's going to come back clean.
So he wasn't tripping on nothing?
Correct.
And in that call, did you hear Mr. Garlington telling SB that they made a video about an hour ago on Cleveland Avenue?
I did.
When you were looking at social media, did you ever capture any videos of members of YFN on Cleveland Avenue?
Yes.
Man, we ain't worried about now, nigga, man.
Shell Kell's post on Cleveland Avenue. Shouldn't this be at Shell Kell's trial, not theirs? They're only showing this because they said in the ops hood.
With Mr. Garlington's page, were you able to see if he was following the Shell Kell Instagram handle?
Yes.
Yes, you were able to see it?
Yes.
And was he following the Shell Kell handle?
He was.
Is that a thing? Do people follow their ops on Instagram? Kind of crazy, right?
Look, man. Yeah, my little friend, brother, man. I need you to share him, bro.
Oh, now they Unfoonk. Unfoonk say shit. We gotta see where he is. So we got to make that call.
Look out for my slime brother, Miles. Who is that individual speaking?
That would be Quantavious Greer. He goes by the name Unfoonk.
And based on your investigation, is that Mr. Williams, Jeffrey Williams' brother?
It is.
Any gang ties that Mr. Greer has?
He's associated with both YSL and the Goodfellas criminal street gang.
Quantavious Greer being associated with both YSL and Goodfellas. Is there an alliance between Goodfellas and YSL?
There is.
Did you hear Garlington telling someone by the name of Kell, or through the person on the phone telling someone named Kell hello? Or tell Kell I said what up, that's my boy.
Yeah.
To your knowledge, are they talking about Shell Kell or someone else?
They're not. It's somebody else.
Okay. What was your understanding what was happening in those two calls?
Mr. Greer was trying to ensure that Mr. Farley was shielded within the jail.
Trying to protect Miles Farley in jail. Apparently, that's all that call was. Took up 15 minutes all for that.
Little Miles just got locked up. You know, they hit first time. They like, yeah, man, make sure you straight.
And at this time, were you aware if Mr. Copeland was incarcerated?
He was.
Okay. Do you know when he was arrested?
I believe in October of 2021.
And was that, we're not gonna go into it, but did you speak with Mr. Copeland when he was arrested in October 2021?
I did.
And to your knowledge, was he in continuous custody even past April of 2022?
I believe so.
Hello? Hey, you ain't got no iPhone, like?
Yeah, nah. Why you say that?
Nah, I don't want to talk on the phone. I was going to tell you something. FaceTime because they can't hear on that FaceTime shit.
Hey, I think Judge Whitaker needs to buy a family member a gift from uncommongoods.com. Spark something uncommon this holiday with just the right gift from Uncommon Goods. The busy holiday season is here and Uncommon Goods has just the right gift for everyone on your list. And I'm talking unique, one-of-a-kind gifts that are handmade. When you shop at Uncommon Goods, you're supporting small artists and independent businesses. Many of the handcrafted products on the website are made in small batches, so if you see something you like, I'd suggest you get it very quickly. They have everything from book lovers to diehard sports fans to kids. Uncommon Goods literally has something for everyone, boys. Not the same old selections you can just find anywhere. They even have gifts you can personalize like the snowflake ornament. My personal favorite is the tabletop cornhole because it's just a great time with your friends or family. They even have a make your own craft cola kit. I've never even thought about making soda, so that's just something really unique you can get for someone. And with every purchase you make at Uncommon Goods, they give back $1 to a nonprofit of your choice. To get 15% off your next gift, go to uncommongoods.com/CUFBOYS. That's uncommongoods.com/CUFBOYS for 15% off. Don't miss out on this limited time offer. Uncommon Goods, we're all out of the ordinary. Go support small businesses. Back to the video, boys.
FaceTime, and the reason why FaceTime is used. Was this an explanation why FaceTime is used, what we just heard in this call?
What am I out there? Damn right. I know what I'm saying. What flow you on? You know what flow? I don't know.
Miles got jumped in Rice Street.
I know one was Mr. Garlington. I couldn't really hear the other. 90s would refer to the Inglewood family gangster bloods. That's going to be the traditional gang that YFN is associated with.
Somebody, you said we ain't got nothing to do with that. So I did Quay like the nigga said that you set this up. We ain't got nothing to do with Quay. I'm like,
Man, tell Quay, hold on. Tell Quay he'll be a fool if he lives in.
There's a lot of yapping. Like, I truly don't even know.
That's what we've been trying to find, nigga, that know how to fly a drone. If you tell us you said line one, man, we gotta get somebody who knows how to fly a drone, man. We got a hole in the water right now, bro.
we gotta find somebody one of them. We'll set everybody straight then, bro.
Yeah.
Look at Shard's face. He shook his head.
Don't say how long I've been telling you about we got a hole in the water to find somebody with a drone.
Yeah, you been telling me that.
I bet you saw that. Yeah, the hole been in the water. The hole been in the water for at least about 3 weeks now. That we've been trying to work that move because these police ain't trying to do that right now.
Yeah. Okay, so we just gotta find somebody that know how to fly one.
Man, you find somebody not to fly a drone, man. We get the pack tonight, right now. I get, man. We can get somebody to do that.
Yeah, so we find somebody not to do that real quick.
Man, get away. We can get the pack every day. We can get the pack every day until you say stop. Goddamn, get the pack in.
Was Mr. Garlington on the call?
Yes.
What other voices were you familiar with?
Mr. Greer.
And is that the same Unfoonk that we spoke about earlier?
Yes.
All right. And then towards the end of the call, did you hear them discussing about flying a drone into the jail?
I did.
And did you hear them talking about a particular hole inside the jail in which they could fly the drone into?
Yes, a hole in the window.
Wait, I thought... So the hole in the windows is real. I just made a video about the DOJ investigation. I think I might have even said in that video that I know 100% they get shit through that hole with the drones. I was kind of joking, but this is insane. These boys are trying to fly drones into the holes of jail walls. Rice Street, Fulton County Jail is a disaster.
Did you ever have the occasion to observe that hole in the window?
I can't remember if I saw it in person, but I definitely saw photos of it.
And what, if anything, were they discussing about flying into that window through a drone?
He referred to it as a pack, but I believe it was cell phones.
And are they allowed to have their own personal are inmates allowed to have their own personal cell phones in the Fulton County Jail?
No.
I'm going to object. I'm going to object to 403, 401.
Sustained. Well, not on 401, but 403.
Finally, we get a 403 objection from Shard.
And what, if anything, was found when you all searched Mr. Huey and Mr. Menders?
When I went to the cell, I was able to recover both a cellular device and a shank.
I can hardly hear you. What you saying?
That's Woody. You could tell that's Woody.
Well, you on them all. Yeah. Straight up. Where are you at? Right on this side. Man, what the hell? Talk to somebody. He heard somebody. Told he been locked up 43. They got a 43-man indictment.
That what Funk said?
That what Tunk said.
I heard about the indictment from Monk Tunk.
I don't know. He ain't told me that.
Yeah, he said no. He heard, but you know he probably did talk. Ain't no telling.
Wait, is it for what though?
He just said RICO, I guess.
Shit, if that was me, my heart be pounding. I would be shitting my pants.
The date of this call was April 23rd, 2022. Do you know what was the date of the indictment in this case?
May 9th of 2022.
Through your investigation, have you ever heard of or familiar with a place called The Web?
I am.
And how are you familiar with the place called The Web?
There was an incident that occurred at the location, as well as some calls, jail calls that I had listened to previously.
Nah, we back at the web.
How did you initially learn about Mr. Stillwell's cell phone?
When Mr. Stillwell was taken into custody on the 17th, no phones were recovered from his person. So I began listening to his jail calls and learned that he had concealed the phones and was directing somebody to go retrieve them. So they were retrieved by a female named China, and I was able to listen to jail calls to learn where they were headed and when they were to arrive. And they were headed to the home of...
You may.
Okay, tell him, do not give my phones to Poker, because that ain't gonna cause a problem around here. Tell him to keep my phone, or give him to, tell him, if she asks about him, tell him he went and looked for him but didn't find him.
I think Shannon is talking about hiding his phone from his girlfriend here.
If she asked about it, tell her he went to look for them and couldn't find them.
Yeah.
From this call, were you able to get the PIN number to Mr. Stillwell Jackson's cell phone?
Yes.
And was that confirmation that she now received the phones?
It was.
Something about Shannon's phones.
And went to her home with the search warrant with a team of officers with me.
And how many phones did you recover?
2.
Ms. Hilton's trying to get in Shannon's phone extractions right now that they got.
There were so many. They said they had a warrant. We know you got his 2 phones.
So is grandma helping him?
As you reviewed the content of Mr. Stillwell's phone, did you see that there were some content that was deleted?
Some, yes.
And were you also able to get some content, of course, that which was not deleted?
Yes.
Jackson said they had a picture of her car on the warrant.
Yes.
Okay. Whose car was there a picture of on the warrant?
A white Ford Fusion.
All right. And was that similar to the white Ford Fusion that you saw in the BP gas station video with SHYMEL drinks?
Yes.
All right. Do you see a message highlighted?
Yes.
Okay.
Save this number, SB, to Lil D.
Save this number, SB.
All right.
If Polka asks, tell her I'm op hunting.
Okay. And what's the date of that?
July 14th, 2022.
If my girlfriend asks where I'm at, just tell her I'm op hunting. Insane.
Mr. Stillwell.
Okay. And what does it say?
12 hot.
All right.
Tell Reek I'm scared to be over here. Police said they blitzing everything on Cleveland behind what Big Brisk did. They locked Slug up yesterday.
And is there a response to that text message?
The respondent says, I know, I just heard they wanted anything that got tied to YSL.
And then was there a response?
Right.
Christian Epinger was arrested for shooting Officer Rogers.
I believe so. Within a day or so, yes.
Who is the recipient of these text messages?
The recipient of the highlighted text message will be Shannon Stillwell.
Okay. And who's the sender?
Khalif Adams. Mr. Adams says, call me ASAP, to which Mr. Stillwell responds, what you on? Mr. Adams then says, I'm trying to figure something out. Mr. Stillwell responds, what that twin? Mr. Adams responds, Scar said it was a price for that feature, but racial expletive, ain't seen nothing. Then Buddy done made a counter offer of 100 on my little man's. I got keep paying him. And then Mr. Stillwell responds, you ain't talked to him.
Okay. Now, in reviewing that text message, was this of note to you?
It was.
Why?
Because it would fall in line with...
Objection, Your Honor. Speculation.
Sustained.
Adam's phone number or the Verizon records regarding payment of a feature in his text messages that you reviewed regarding the Rayshawn Bennett stabbing.
I did.
And in looking at those text messages and these text messages, did you find some commonality between what you looked at with the Verizon records and this text message here?
I did.
And what was that?
The timing and the context of the text messages. Still said, he said, be ready, bruh. And he says,
who says that?
Mr. Stillwell says, be ready, bruh. And Mr. Garlington says, been ready. And he says, Mr. Stillwell says, share low. What appears from the extraction to be a location is shared. And then Mr. Stillwell responds, 3 minutes. And Mr. Garlington responds, okay. And then Mr. Stillwell says, turning on your street. Mr. Garlington says, it's been 7 minutes. And then Mr. Stillwell says, outside.
Was that the day of Mr. Drinks' killing on 20 in Windsor?
It was.
So on the same day, he's texting his friend, be ready. I'm turning on your street. I think every time I've ever picked up a friend from their house, I go, be ready, motherfucker. I ain't waiting out here, bitch. Hurry the fuck up.
And what was the date and time that the video was created?
March 14th, 2022 at 8:52 p.m.
He got an old diamond. He got the snow with a whole guy. With his bagless shoes on. Cheap motherfucker though. $98. Yeah, his bankroll for his stuff. With his tight jeans. He gonna put him all the way together.
So it looks like Quay right here, I think.
And do you recognize who that is?
I do.
Who is that?
That would be Mr. Comarvius Nichols.
And does he appear to be wearing the same clothing as viewed in the BP surveillance gas station video?
He does.
Right. And are you familiar with, or can you tell where they are within this video?
I believe that's the inside of the home located at 2830 Waters Road.
And on the table, are there any weapons?
There are.
And how many weapons do you see?
I can see what appears to be 2 weapons and then an extra magazine on the table.
And how are you able to tell from your experience that it is consistent with looking like a Glock?
So based on the bottom of the grip, typically Glocks are straight across at the bottom. This one, it's kind of flat, goes up, goes across, and comes back down, almost with like an indentation in the bottom right here, which would be consistent with, I would think, a Glock 27.
So they got Shannon searching up the murders 3 days later or whatever.
They start on March 12th at 6:38 a.m., and it was various different keywords concerning a murder or shooting on Atlanta Avenue.
So he's searching up Christian McMiller and Darius Ford's murder before.
And approximately what time was that shooting?
The call for service came in around 9:47 p.m. on March 11th.
And is that the shooting we referenced earlier that came in later in the day after Mr. McMillan and Mr. Ford were killed?
It is.
So, I mean, that's not incriminating to me either. His 2 friends just got murdered. He's searching up an article.
March 17th, 2022. 2:31:56 a.m. But they're not they're visiting. They're records of the website being visited.
So these look different. This isn't him searching it. This looks like someone sent him the link, which apparently is what happened. His girlfriend and his grandma both sent him the link in text messaging.
So the distinction is like when you see a search on a phone, that's I go to Google on the phone or open up the browser and search what day is today. Then you may click on that one of the results or a calendar that it may populate. That's what this would be. This would be you going to the actual web address, not searching the web address. I don't know if it was a search within Fox 5 Atlanta, but it appears as if somebody went to the Fox 5 Atlanta website and clicked on the article regarding a homicide that had taken place.
And where's the location of the homicide?
Windsor Street.
And do you see multiple for Windsor Street homicide?
I do.
And March 17, 2022, was that the day that Mr. Stillwell was arrested?
It was.
And was it before or after these searches?
This would have been in the early morning hours of March 17th, so he would have been arrested maybe 12 or so hours later.
They just wet LUCCI ass up. She goes, in jail? And he goes, yeah.
And she says, I thought he was in that special part of the jail. To which Mr. Stillwell responds, poor little tink tink. And Miss Alexander sends 3 laughing face emojis. And then she says, he stabbed up. And Mr. Stillwell says, I guess he thought he was hard to come out of PC. And again, Miss Alexander sends the 3 laughing emojis.
Who said poor little tink tink?
Was there any media reports about Mr. Bennett being stabbed on February 9, 2022?
There was not.
Okay. When was the first media reports that you were aware of Mr. Bennett being stabbed?
During the first week of March, when Mr. Bennett's attorney filed an emergency motion for bond and it hit the news. Mr. Stillwell responds, if we don't get a room, you need to just stay at EJ House or something. Miss Alexander responds, this shit's scary, I'm not even gonna lie. And to which he responds, it's okay, I got you protected. Miss Alexander asks,
let me follow make sure the screen behind you.
Oh, sorry. She said, so got everything put in storage, question mark? He says, yeah, so we don't have to go back and get from there. And then Mr. Stillwell responds, don't pick up for nobody, but the close ones stay off the radar. He then also responds, we need this shit to be solid, tight, no information need to be out, nothing at all. And then in all capital letters, he says, no information. Miss Alexander responds, so how do I get money? Like, how do I get my plays? And he responds, or she responds, and who can take the TVs down? And I'll leave some of the cameras up until I get. Mr. Stillwell then says, and get your plays, but move smart, different cars.
So him and his girlfriend talking about plays and shit. I think that means like robbing people. State thinks this is them covering up a murder and being all quiet, but it also could be them just hiding from people trying to kill them, which is the narrative I'm sure defense lawyers are going to go with.
Mr. Stillwell says, I might extend this rental. Yes, and I might have to get one. I don't know what to do. Trade it, get it wrapped. Send Addie to the room. Don't tell not one person where that room is at. Where that room at. And then Miss Alexander sends an Apple map. And she says, I'm not, baby. I didn't tell nobody. Mr. Stillwell tells Miss Alexander, let's go to Miami for some days till it cools down. Pop my shit. I really got options. Poor little ops. Look how they just dropping.
So this is the notes in his phone right here where he was writing a song in the studio hours after. Defense lawyers are clearly going to point out this is common in rap and everything. So they're playing the song right now.
Or words that says, I'm a big lizard.
Yes.
YSL. Have you seen some YSL members use a lizard?
Yes.
Did you hear words riding down the block, hanging out the top?
Yes.
Did you hear the words in the song, I just beat a homicide, ha, ha, ha?
He never beat a homicide. And she's pointing out the drop top roof thing, hanging out the top of the roof lyric, because clearly they think Shannon hung out the roof of the Diamond Thomas murder. So clearly they're bringing this song in because spamming red light, red light, red light over in this one.
Now in this song, are you able to hear Mr. Stillwell's voice?
I believe Mr. Stillwell comes in at the latter part of the song.
So that wasn't even Shannon doing the chorus spamming red lights.
Is that where you hear the words, I see an op, I gun him down?
Yes.
Walk him down from a mile?
Yes.
The last homicide, I smiled it off?
Yes.
That's why they mad?
Yes.
I can send their whole gang to the heavenly house?
Yes.
Did you hear a verse, let that drain out of the top of the drop?
Yes.
Did you also hear a reference to Long Live Boo?
Yes.
Throughout your investigation, are you familiar with an individual who went by the nickname Boo?
Yes.
And in this song, it's a light show when I bring Little Tick out.
Yes.
Through your investigation, are you familiar with an individual by the name of Little Tick?
I am.
Song, did you hear the words, go catch a homicide, show me if you down the ride, want to know if you slime or not?
Yes.
Beat the hom, no evidence, no slime left behind.
Yes.
Back on that bullshit, ride around with a full clip, effing in with a blue tip.
Yes.
And at some point, every slime play nasty.
Yes.
In your investigation, have you, with YSL, have you heard that term, every slime play nasty?
I have. ESPN.
These Instagram messages from 2021.
Says real 30 deep shit.
And through your investigation, are you familiar with 30 Deep?
I am. Earlier in my career, I worked a few investigations involving members of the 30 Deep criminal street gang.
And do you see a post by SlimeLife.Shady?
I do.
Is that on September 9th, 2019?
It is.
Those 2 text messages. Or messages, excuse me.
From these messages?
Yeah, this shit's from 2019. Like, SCHARDT objected to relevance.
PFK look crazy. We gonna tear that shit up. I'm putting you down now.
And flipping to page 8798.
I'm on the bullshit would be the continuation of that message. If we get into everybody, go for a chain.
Go for a chain. They trying to snatch my chains. I'm sure the jury has checked out, dude. So we got a picture of Shannon with his tattoos.
Omerta.
And have you heard that term before?
I have.
What is your understanding of Omerta?
Typically favored by members of the Goodfellas. It's meaning the code of silence.
The price of loyalty is wealth, and the price of disloyalty is death.
Yes.
On the top of Mr. Stillwell's chest, do you see 2 B's at the top of his chest?
Yes.
All right. And if you can indicate that with the...
I'm gonna be honest, boys. These tattoos look like... They gotta be jail tats. These look terrible.
It says blood money, but there's a purposeful misspelling of the word blood with the O's replaced with the 5'9".
What's the significance of the 5'9"?
I'm not sure if he still does or not. Claimed affiliation previously with the 5'9" brim set of the Bloods. Family before all. 2 face, 1 tier.
Every single tattoo this motherfucker got is a gang tattoo, apparently. Holy shit.
Who's depicted in 518 VV?
Mr. Kendrick. Okay. In green, you can see the word slap on his right forearm. Blood love all the time. It's a play on that to stand for slime love all the time.
What is depicted in the middle of his stomach?
It's a snake and it comes up through his chest. I think the head of the snake comes up over here out through his shoulder and goes around his neck. That will be the middle of Mr. Kendrick's neck where you'll see the YSL. You can see ESPN. It's kind of blurry, but it's right there.
So a little bit of a break over social media posts here.
Three from Mr. Stilla's account. Mr. Stilla. All right.
And is he wearing a sweatshirt?
Yes.
He's wearing the slime design.
Oh, it says, I fell off 100 times. 100 times I bounced back. Hashtag life size, lizard emoji. And then it says, Mani Tumba de Piedra. The devil, the purple devil emoji.
Okay. And as we discussed earlier, the members of YSL sometimes use a lizard as one of their emojis.
Yes.
All right. Now, when you were pulling this Instagram, did you know what Mani Tumba de Piedra meant?
I did not.
Did you do anything to see if you could determine what it meant?
Yeah, if you can see right here, you can hit the C translation button, and typically on Instagram, when you click that, it will translate anything that's not in the language.
And what did the translation translate to?
Peanut stone grave.
And does it have the same purple devil emoji?
It does.
Okay. Now, when you were observing this,
I don't think this jury's going to be able to have a guilty verdict, but shit like that, if Shannon really posted shit like that, he's a fucking idiot. Like, straight up.
did that post stay the same the entire time that you were observing it on Instagram?
It did not.
Okay. What happened?
I'd say it was up for maybe 2 or 3 minutes, and the Spanish portion was, the post was edited to remove the Spanish portion.
Bro had that in there for only a few seconds. She screenshotted this in 16 seconds. She was on his ass. She had notifications on.
ESPN.
And against that, the Every Slime Play Nasty.
Yes.
And is that Miles Farley?
It is.
So it's Miles Farley post.
And do you see a tattoo on his arm, Rock Crew?
Yeah, right here on his upper right forearm, you're going to see the name Rock Crew. Graffiti that says slap.
And what, if any, color is he wearing? Or what is he wearing?
A red bandana print t-shirt.
There's a lot of Instagram posts. Apparently, she never did any reports on any of these, so defense lawyers are going to poke holes in that.
This song was a great showcase of the alliance between the Goodfellas and YSL. There was a couple of songs that they did together, but this was one of the ones where the video and the song were a good showcase of that due to who was present.
State says YSL was a hybrid gang with Bloods and Crips together.
And it's who's depicted in the picture?
Cordelius Ryan.
And what does the caption say?
If you caught a case and the C's are going to be a purposeful misspelling with X's and stayed solid with a strong emoji, you deserve a bag emoji when you get home. Triple threat B emoji, free psych and quay, free Lil Valley, love ya.
And where are you able to tell where this picture is taken?
Appears to be in a correctional facility. Not snitching, remaining quiet.
As a gang expert, have you seen individuals switch barrels of guns? In the Iraqi approach, we do have.
I'll permit that.
Yeah. Have you seen that occur?
Yes, we've seen that happen.
Now, earlier, I believe you discussed how social media is kind of the new graffiti for the gang.
Correct.
And in the course of your investigation with YSL and YFN, were the social media posts that we've seen throughout your testimony some of the examples of what you were speaking of?
Yes.
What about music? How have you seen, as a gang expert, music promote gangs or promote gang violence in your experience?
Music is often used to promote gang violence.
Sustained.
Have you taken courses on gang music and gang culture?
Yes, I believe during the GGI, one of the GGI conferences I have.
And as a part of your investigation with gangs, have you listened to music associated with various gangs?
Approach.
Yeah, like what are we doing? Shard's even confused. We've already heard this several times.
Sit here today. Do you know if the beef between YSL and YFN is still continuing?
It is.
Doug Weinstein, first one up for cross.
And Dwayne Carter's also known as Lil Wayne, right?
Yes.
Okay. In the image that is on the right side of the two photographs.
Yes.
You see his arm there, correct?
I do.
Do you see ESPN on his arm?
I do.
What do you maintain that the ESPN, or do you know what the ESPN on his arm stands for?
On him, since he's not a member of YSL, I couldn't tell you what that stands for.
But he's not a member of YSL, correct?
Correct.
So just casting doubt on the ESPN tattoo being specifically for YSL members.
He has ESPN on his arm.
Correct. Like I could have a star, Bloods could have a star. Different tattoos mean different things to different people.
So the ESPN on his arm could mean ESPN, the sports network, correct?
As not being a member of YSL, yes.
So if you're a member of YSL and you have ESPN on your arm, are you saying the only thing it could possibly mean is your interpretation of ESPN?
That's what I've seen it mean thus far with members of YSL.
And that's the only thing you believe it could mean?
As far as members of YSL, yes.
So the fact that my client was a football star at Grady, do you know if my client played football at Grady?
I do now.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to University of Georgia as a football player? I'm asking if she knows
Sustained. You can ask if she knows whether it's true or not.
Do you know if my client got a scholarship to the University of Georgia?
I've heard that.
You've heard that. Would you find it surprising that someone that got a football scholarship to the University of Georgia might like ESPN, the network?
I mean, they could like it, but I don't know if I'm sure he likes other TV channels also that aren't tattooed on him.
So if it's tattooed on you, it must mean ESPN, that you're a member of YSL? You just said that Dwayne Carter has ESPN on his arm, but he's not a member of YSL.
Sustained.
You just said that ESPN on Lil Wayne is not a YSL insignia, correct?
Correct. Like I could say, you can see a college sorority girl with a star tattoo on her, right? And then you can see go down to a prison and see members of blood gangs with 5-point stars tattooed on them, it's going to have, we look at everything on an individual basis. So I can't make that determination. When it comes to YSL members, when you see ESPN associated with a YSL member, I have not seen it mean of anything other than every slime play nasty.
And you said you could see a sorority girl with a star on her, correct?
Correct.
And you could see a University of Georgia football player with ESPN on their arm too, correct?
Correct, but they're both not members of a blood gang or YSL.
Oh shit. Is this at Thug's house? The missing watch right there.
Do you recall when this was taken?
That was on March 9th of 2020. I'm sorry, May 9th of 2022.
What are you doing at that point in the video?
We're inventorying the jewelry and items.
Do you recognize that as a Richard Mille watch?
I guess, yes.
And that's a pink watch, correct?
It's pink and either pink and light pink or pink and white, yes.
It's a pink band, correct?
Correct.
And it has a white ceramic, I'll call it the body of the watch.
White, yeah, I guess it's white if you say so, yes.
After you took this image and you did this inventorying process, where did the watch go after this?
If you watch the video in its entirety, we're inventorying everything in the closet. There's a bunch of small boxes everywhere. So if you watch the video in its entirety, you take it and the watch is photographed like this, box is closed, it's taken and put up on the shelf in the upper left-hand corner, and the inventorying continues, and then jewelry starts getting packed up and getting ready for the evidence team to come and take it down to property.
So she's saying she put it back and never took it.
Since November the 4th of this year, have you spoken to the state about this particular watch, the pink watch with the white band that I've been calling the Richard Mille or Richard Mille watch?
To the state, no, but I've seen the Twitter coverage of it going missing or whatever you want to.
Maybe.
Well, no. I mean, there's a camera in here. They know that it's being live streamed. You just are not supposed to be watching it. And you asked that in the evidence. So
well,
just keep moving.
I wasn't watching the trial, but my name.
Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Just keep moving.
Okay.
Unless you need to approach about something
No,
else.
that's fine.
Okay.
This girl on Twitter looking at Thugger Daily.
Tell me, and I'd like to know about this. Tell me in the whatever coverage you saw, what did you learn about this watch that came up in this trial?
Sustained. Well, yeah, sustained.
Okay. And is it the normal process when you're taking jewelry from the home or high-value goods that you leave behind a $500,000 watch on a shelf?
First, I don't know the value of it. Second of all, like I said, there were numerous jewelry boxes. It was, if you watch the video, everybody in there had on body cameras. I was made sure I was on camera at all times. There's cameras throughout the home. You would be able to see if one of us removed a watch. The box remained in the closet. And like I said, the home was turned over to Mr. Williams Sr. and Mr. Garfield Lamond, who were the two people on scene that took custody of the home for Mr. Williams.
Okay, can we go back to my question? Sure. Sure. Is it the normal procedure to leave high-valued items behind when you're doing a search and then a seizure pursuant to a warrant?
Objection, not relevant and answer.
It wasn't answered, Your Honor.
I don't know if there's necessarily a procedure on what you take or what you don't. Like I said, it got left behind. There were other things, like other items of evidence that...
So are you telling me that law enforcement has no procedure with what you do with high-value items that are subject to a seizure warrant?
Objection, relevant and answer.
It's asked and answered at this point.
Okay. So the watch you say was left behind. What else wasn't done according to your instructions at the home that day?
I believe there were two pieces of artwork that were, one was Mr. Williams in a general uniform with snakes on his arm, and then one was Mr. Williams, Jesus at the Last Supper with all the people around him that I thought were relevant that were not taken. And like I said, it started to get pretty hostile out there, so we were trying to speed things up.
Did these body cams capture Mr. Kendrick within the home?
I believe they caught Mr. Kendrick running from the home.
That's not the question I asked.
They caught him outside of the home. I don't know how to better come into the question.
It's either a yes, no.
No.
Is there body cam image of Mr. Kendrick within Mr. Williams' home?
The body camera image I saw was him running from the home.
Is there body cam image of Mr.
Answer
Williams
yes or no, and then you can explain.
in the home?
I haven't reviewed all of the entry team's body camera, but no.
If he's asking yes or no questions, got to say yes or no first. She getting a little attitude.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick in Mr. Williams' home?
On that, by the time I arrived at the location, the entry was already made. So I did not, no.
You did not? Okay. Did you, there were approximately a half a dozen firearms found within the home, correct?
Correct.
And Yak is charged with one or two of them, I don't know.
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick possessing any of those firearms?
I have not.
Have you seen any images of Mr. Kendrick near those firearms?
I have not.
There were drugs found in the home, correct?
Correct.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick with any of those drugs?
No.
Did you see Mr. Kendrick anywhere near any of those drugs?
No.
As far as you know, was Mr. Kendrick in actual possession of any of those drugs?
No, I wasn't there when they made entry.
Did Mr. Kendrick have any of those drugs, as far as you know?
As far as I know, no.
And as far as you know, did he have any of those guns?
I just know he was in the home where they were located at some point that day.
Right. We have Mr. Kendrick saying, excuse my language, saying, knock it off your big homie bitch, correct?
Correct.
Do you recall how many times that line was stated prior to Mr. Kendrick uttering that line at the very end?
Multiple.
Stated by 24 Heavy Ricky Hill, correct?
Correct.
And I believe he states it 3 times, right?
Correct.
So Mr. Kendrick is just repeating a line that someone else has written or someone else has said. He's repeating that at the end, correct?
I'm not sure who the writing credits go to, but he did say it at the end.
He's not freestyling it in that it's never been heard before in the song, correct?
Well, it wasn't part of the song. At that point, the song had ended, and he yelled it.
But it had been said 3 times before in the song, right?
Right.
So you're aware there's post-editing that lines can be put into music after the song is recorded, correct?
Right, but the context of how he was saying, the way he said it wasn't going along with the song.
Ooh, this is interesting. Tell me about that.
It was after the song had concluded, and he kind of yelled it out with Miss Raven, and I forgot who else was with him.
How do you determine that a song has concluded?
The video, the way it's portrayed in the video. I didn't edit the way that it's portrayed in the video has ended, utters it at the end after the song is concluded.
So what training have you had in music to know,
Bro, she's one of those witnesses like, who's the sassy one that works for the Atlanta Hawks? I'm drawing a blank. Gaither. She's like her.
When a song is ended in a particular video, when there's an utterance after a song is ended.
Are you asking how I know when a song ends?
Yeah, how do you know this in this video? Like, you've had training and expertise that tells you when a particular rap song ends and then something is just blurted out afterwards?
I mean, I've listened to the song independent of the video, and that's not on the track.
But it's in the video, correct?
Right, but when the song concludes, it's not part of the track.
When you're in that closet, do you recall in that video that you mentioned how valuable that watch is when you pull it up?
I don't believe so.
I can play that for you so you can hear that.
You can, yeah, if you'd like to.
But they're both Richard Mille watches, correct?
I mean, there were several much more expensive pieces of jewelry that were there also. And this is not my first case with a lot of expensive jewelry. Yes, this picture was more so of importance to me to show the alliance between the Crips and YSL.
Oh, that's right. That's a hybrid gang, right?
Correct.
Okay. And a hybrid gang is kind of like a nose of wax, right? It's something that you can twist and pull so that any type of characteristics that you find can meet the definition of a gang, right?
That's not true.
It isn't true. Why wouldn't that be true?
For example,
he's fucking grilling her about the hybrid gang shit.
This hybrid gang with Mr. Arnold, this came about when Mr. Keith Troop died, and Mr. Williams gave a eulogy at Mr. Keith Troop's funeral. And if you listen to Mr. Kitchens, he tells the story about how Mr. Williams was put in charge to take care of Mr. Kitchens and guide him, and he's the one that kind of took them under their wing. As an example, and the Department of Justice defines hybrid gangs as a gang member's participation in multiple gangs, vague rules and code of conduct.
She is yapping right now.
Gangs or different gangs collaborating together to commit crimes, and there's several other definitions, but it's not just something I made up. The Department of Justice defines it.
No, I know, and what I'm trying to understand from you is I've seen multiple gang experts come in here and talk about definitions of gangs and definitions of hybrid gangs, and it just appears that if a group of individuals don't fit your definition of a gang, that they automatically get classified as a hybrid gang. Can you explain what a hybrid gang is?
Yes, I gave you part of it. It's traditionally a neighborhood gang or local gang that tries to take on the identifiers of a traditional gang. Like, I'm from New York. The gangs in New York are much more structured. The gangs in LA, Chicago are much more structured. It is a neighborhood gang that takes on pieces of traditional gangs.
So I believe the testimony we've heard, YSL as a gang doesn't have a hierarchy.
They don't have the Goodfellas, for example. They have.
I'm asking, let's go back to my question.
Right.
YSL.
Right.
Well, the answer wasn't responsive to my question.
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. YSL does not have a hierarchy as a traditional gang does, correct?
They don't have a set of leadership like roles, no.
Okay, so in that sense, they wouldn't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
But they're still welcomed by members of the Sex, Money, Murder Bloods.
Wait, hold on. I thought they've been saying Thug is the leader of this shit, like a leader role.
Can you just answer my question?
Yes.
Okay. So my question was, they don't fit into the definition of a traditional gang.
Correct.
So instead, they get slotted over to this catch-all category of hybrid gang, correct?
I wouldn't call it a catch-all, no.
I don't have any further questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Weinstein.
She got a little attitude. All right, Max Shard up for cross.
Spoken about the work that you did on this case with the district attorney's office.
Correct.
And you've given us your opinions about certain things that you learned through your work at the district attorney's office, correct?
Some. I don't know. I don't think I've given many opinions.
Okay. As part of your work with the district attorney's office, you reviewed surveillance videos.
Correct.
Okay. You drafted affidavits for search warrants.
Correct.
You collected evidence from Jeffrey Williams' house.
Correct.
You collected social media posts.
Correct.
From various people.
Correct.
You reviewed Mr. Stillwell's phones.
Correct.
You've reviewed music, in this case, by various artists.
Correct.
You were asked by Ms. Hylton, how did you notate your work on this case? And then you said that you talked about your search warrant affidavits, that you make them thorough.
Correct.
Okay, but search warrant affidavits aren't memorandums, are they?
No.
Okay, they're not police reports, are they?
No.
Okay. In your explanation, you don't have reports written for the work that you did in this case as a district attorney, with the district attorney's office, too.
I have, I think, one or two that were witness memorandums, but other than that, no.
Reports about when you were collecting social media posts.
No.
Got any reports on that?
No.
So it's literally just screenshots of social media posts.
Addresses or Instagram. Which people that you were following on Instagram, which people you were looking at their Instagram, what dates you were looking at their Instagram. Do you have reports about that?
No, but they were compiled, and each date that they were looked at were noted on the photo.
Okay, so we're just supposed to look at the stuff that you compile and bring to court, and that's good enough to let us fill in all the work that you did.
Objection.
Just take your word for it?
It's cross. I'm going to permit it.
I mean, I'm here to explain it.
Okay, well, that's fine, but,
right.
You know, what if we want reports? Do you have reports?
I said, the DA, now I work at a different facility. When I worked at the GBI, we had a reporting system. The DA's office doesn't have that. So I would, in my affidavits, make them as lengthy. There's some, when you see an affidavit of mine, it's pretty lengthy for a reason.
Okay, well, I didn't ask about your search warrant affidavits. I'm asking about reports and memorandums right now. Okay, and you seem to be saying, well, there was no record-keeping software with the district attorney's office that you can memorialize the work you did.
Correct.
Okay, they don't have a typewriter, they don't have computers, they don't have Microsoft Word, they don't have a pad of paper, they don't have pens, they don't have pencils. Is that what you're saying?
They do.
But you just didn't write any reports about any of this work that you've been testifying over the last 3 days that you did.
I don't really know anybody that would write a report saying, on this date, I screenshotted this picture. On this date, I screenshotted this picture. That's not really a report. That's not an event I would write a report for.
Well, what if I want to know exactly Instagram addresses, what individuals that you looked at on Instagram and which ones you didn't, which ones you checked out what they were posting and which ones you didn't? How would I know if you don't write a report?
Well, if I looked at them, the name would be on the post. And if I didn't, there wouldn't be a picture.
Okay, so again, we're just going with what you say happened years later based on the evidence that you bring into court.
I compiled my findings into a folder and provided it as part of the case file.
Okay. And you didn't write any reports about the work that you were doing in real time, did you?
Regarding, there's a report for Waters Road.
She got an attitude, but it's because he's coming at her investigation. Sloppy investigative work, man.
And the rest of the investigation, like the investigation into the stabbing of Mr. Bennett, can be found in pretty lengthy affidavits.
So you wrote a report for Waters Road?
I did.
Were you at the DA's office at that time?
I wrote it on a piece of paper. It was a Word document.
So you were able to make a Word document about that work, just not the other work that you did, like when you were reviewing my client's phone, like when you were collecting things off of social media, like when you were reviewing surveillance videos. You couldn't write reports for those matters.
Today, with a report management system, I wouldn't write a report for screenshotting social media or reviewing a phone. I traditionally put together a PowerPoint or visual presentation for trial.
Okay, I didn't ask what you traditionally do. I asked what you did do.
But that's what I would do that's what I did back at the DA's office, is what I'm telling you. I would do that today with a report management system, as I did without one. Those things are not responding to Waters Road. I wanted to make sure better suited to put it in an affidavit because it's memorialized in the clerk's office. Systems can get hacked, hard drives can get lost, things can get deleted, files can get lost. So I prefer to anything that's noteworthy, make sure it's memorialized somewhere.
Things can get lost. That's your explanation? You can't lose something if you don't make it, can you?
Which is why anything regarding my investigation is probably in an affidavit that I've wrote hundreds of pages.
Probably in an affidavit?
If you would give me a case that you're specifically referring to, I can give you an example.
In your affidavits, I would like you to show me an affidavit.
SCHARDT is playing no games today, bro.
People that you checked out in March 2022 when you were pulling their posts.
That was
everyone that you searched.
That was served to you in a discovery folder.
Okay. I have the posts.
Correct. So that's all of them.
All right. I'm not asking for the posts. I'm asking for a list of the people that you searched for.
If you look in the folder, you will see the list of people I searched for.
Okay. All right. You reviewed his phones.
Correct.
Okay. You saw mentions of drugs, weed, pills in his phones.
For sale, yes.
Okay, for sale. Right. There was indications in his phone that in 2022 he was selling drugs.
Correct.
Okay. Substantial evidence of his aspirations to become a musician, correct?
Yes.
You've seen social media posts with him and Wooney Lee at the studio.
Yes.
You've seen social media posts where he hashtagged his upcoming projects.
Yes.
You also observed in his phone his communications with other individuals that were rapping, correct? Drill music is something that extends beyond Atlanta.
It does.
It's worldwide, correct?
I know throughout the U.S. I'm not too familiar with it internationally, but yes.
Okay. Common themes of drill music, brutality and violence.
Correct.
Is that fair to say?
Correct.
A type of music, and whether you like it or not, and I'm not suggesting you like it, and I'm not suggesting I like it, but it glorifies violence.
I don't know if I would use the term glorifies because there are a number of drill rappers that have been charged with homicide.
A lot of drill music where people claim they did this and claim they did that.
Correct.
And it's not always factual.
No, but being a drill artist doesn't negate the fact that you engage in violence.
Okay. You may.
It could go either way, but being a drill artist doesn't negate that fact.
That's fine. Common terms in drill music, ops.
Correct.
Stands for opposition.
Correct.
And that is a recurring theme that you almost hear in every song. Isn't that fair to say?
In every song and almost every investigation that I work, yes.
Okay. And if we, and we're not going to do it, but if we Google and get on YouTube and type in rap ops, we'll see dozens of songs with ops in the title.
Correct.
Including by well-known artists.
Correct.
Glizzy is a term that comes up a lot in drill music, correct?
Correct.
Red light. It's another one that comes up a lot in drill music, correct? Red lights?
I don't hear that as often, no.
Okay. You ever hear of the song Red Light by Future?
I have not.
You heard the lyrics? Yeah, and this shit real out here running through the red light, looking through your rear view and might just sneak up on the car and try to spray you. You hear that? Heard that lyric?
No, but if Mr. Wilburn would have engaged in a homicide at a red light, I probably would have looked into it.
She said if Future would have engaged in a homicide at a red light, I would have looked into it. I'm telling you, the state tries their hardest to connect a murder to lyrics. It's so funny. Like, the absolute hardest.
I didn't ask anything about a homicide or Mr. Wilburn. I asked if you heard the lyric.
Yes, it's something I would look at.
Okay.
She's being a difficult witness. The judge needs to tell this fucker to just answer the questions.
You have identified Mr. Stillwell, and they were in Mr. Stillwell's phone.
Correct.
Okay, and just to be clear, there were other songs in Mr. Stillwell's phone as well.
Correct.
Okay, so we heard 5 of all the songs that Mr. Stillwell had in his phone.
Correct.
And do you know, outside of his phone, how many other songs Mr. Stillwell has made?
I know through the years I've seen him make a few, but I couldn't give you a number.
Okay. On the morning of 3/17, he was in the studio making all those songs.
Not to say that 1 or 2 of them couldn't have been made in the days prior, but I can't give you exact dates on them.
Okay. So we don't know when they were made. Do we know when they were written?
No.
Do we know who wrote the lyrics?
We don't.
Okay. And in fact, on one of the songs, Red Light, it says featuring Vito, correct?
Correct.
Veedo.
Correct.
You know Vito to be a songwriter, not an artist, a songwriter for 300 Entertainment, correct?
He could be, yes.
Okay. Makes reference to his bankroll, right?
Correct.
Okay. Bankroll is the amount of money you have.
Correct.
The wad of cash.
Correct.
All right. And he's bragging about his bankroll.
Correct.
And that's what he's saying. That's what he's releasing to the public through this song.
Correct.
Okay. Do you know him to own a car?
No.
Do you know him to own a house?
No.
Do you know him to be independently wealthy?
I mean, sometimes, yes. He has a lot of money on him.
Okay. His bankroll. Is that something that artists often talk about? Their bankroll and how big it is?
Sometimes, yes.
Is that always true, that the artists that are bragging about their bankroll is really as big as they're claiming it is in their songs?
That's an individual basis.
Okay. Could it be, you ever heard the term, like my son says it all the time, cap? Like, just made up. Cap.
Cap.
It could be, but that's not necessarily the case with Mr. Stillwell Jackson.
I'm asking if you've ever heard the
Yes,
term.
I have.
Okay, and
She's not answering the question. He said, have you heard the term cap? She said something about it not pertaining to Shannon. She didn't say yes or no.
basically begging Miss Alexander to give him $1,500.
But if you listen to the March 16th wiretap call, he talks about all the money he had.
Okay.
And he didn't want to go to jail with all that money. So he had a lot of, it fluctuates from day to day. So I don't know, some days he has a bankroll, some days he has no roll, so.
Okay. He mentioned on Slack Talk, I beat a murder rap.
Yes, he did.
Paid my lawyer $30 for that.
He did mention that.
Okay.
But he never beat a murder rap. It's literally not true.
Okay. He also mentioned beating a homicide on another song, correct?
Correct.
Okay. The fact is that Mr. Stillwell, he's on trial for that here today. At the time he wrote those lyrics, he had never beaten a homicide.
That's a real slippery slope to explain that. I don't want to say something, if I can get some.
He had never been
slippery slope, what?
Cleared or went to trial and was found not guilty of a homicide.
Yes.
Yes.
She's not answering his question. She's trying to add in shit. You have to answer the questions from the defense lawyer on cross.
So Mr. SCHARDT asked you a very specific question, and you seem to have answered in a way that surprises everybody. So we need to get some clarity from you. Okay, so can you listen really carefully to what his question is and answer that question? And then if your answer is still the same, we need to ask some follow-up of you. I mean, okay, go ahead.
Pretty much what I just said. Judge just told her to fucking answer the questions.
In the songs that we reviewed, Mr. Stillwell claimed to have beat a homicide, correct? Or
Correct.
beat a murder rap, beat a homicide.
Correct.
Did he in fact beat a murder rap or beat a homicide, as he claimed?
I think he.
Go ahead and explain it now, because the jury's not in here.
Yeah,
We're just
here.
trying to sort out what
I
it
think,
is.
from my understanding of Mr. Stillwell back in that time, he was under the impression that the Donovan Thomas case had been, that they were going to beat it, like they were about to beat it, or was beat, or it wasn't going to be an issue. I didn't want to say that because I didn't know.
Well, that's good that you didn't
Yes.
say that, but that's not the question that he asked at
I'm
the
not asking
time.
what Mr. Stillwell thought.
Okay, yeah, then no.
Okay, listen
Okay.
very carefully to what he actually, I mean, that's not what he asked a minute ago, but you don't have like knowledge that nobody else has that he was tried for some other
no, no,
murder and got a hung jury or an acquittal.
No,
right?
Your Honor. I just wanted to make sure.
So if Mr. SCHARDT asks you,
Yeah, the way she said that sounded like she knew something.
beaten one, and by beaten, I mean, gotten an acquittal or however he phrases it, what would your answer be then?
No, I just didn't know the specific outcome of if it was.
Has he
dismissed
even
and
been tried for
No.
another murder?
He
Okay,
has
so
not been
don't
tried.
say I don't know the specific outcome if he has never been tried for one other than the one he's on trial for right now, okay? You understand?
I just thought, I didn't know if he meant it was dropped. That was all, Your Honor.
That's not what was asked.
But that's not what we just asked right here, Your Honor.
She's being slimy.
But that's not what we just asked right here, Your Honor. And
I know that. I know that.
I think that's the clarity that needs to be had, because at the time, Mr. Stillwell was on bond for the murder. And so
That is not anywhere near what he asked. He asked, has he ever been tried for and acquitted of murder? Being given a bond before a trial ever occurs does not a yes answer for has he ever been tried and acquitted.
Right, but even the question he just asked right now was not that direct.
I know, that's because, I know, but just now what he asked, we're just trying to figure out what it is she might mean. And are you then going to ask?
I'll ask about the bond next.
Okay. So if he asked about bond, then you can answer whatever you know.
Dude, imagine if Glanville was still here. Holy shit. Paige actually just caught that these two fuckers being slimy. I just realized I'm using the word slimy. My brain has seen the word slime so much I meant to say shady.
Is it, based on everything that you know and speaking to him and other people, that did he believe he beat the murder?
I would not let you ask that, because how on earth can she know what is in his head? I mean, you could ask it, but I would overrule it if objection were made.
And there's a Abati trying to be shady as well. Atkins face palms.
Then you point that, if that is in evidence, then you point that out in closing argument. But you can ask that had he been on bond 3, 4, however many years. What you cannot ask this witness is, so then do you think he believed he beat it? I mean, that is something that this witness can't testify to.
Quite literally, no one can be in Shannon's head. You can just ask how long he was out on bond.
If you have some reason to believe you think she can testify to that. But I mean, if it's just, oh, I can put 2 and 2 together, he'd been out for 17 years on bond and not been, tried yet, then that's something that is not beyond the ken of any juror, and you can argue that in your closing, but you can't ask this witness that question, okay?
Yes. This case, I'm talking about Donovan Thomas.
Correct.
Had Mr. Stillwell ever been acquitted or the case been dismissed?
No.
So he had not, in fact, beat a homicide.
Correct.
He had not, in fact, beat a murder rap.
Correct.
Yet he claimed that on his songs.
Correct.
Also, he claimed to pay his lawyer $30 for that. Do you know if he actually paid a lawyer anything?
I don't believe he's the one that paid the lawyer, but a lawyer was paid.
Do you know a lawyer's been paid?
At some
What
point.
lawyer?
He was represented at some point.
Well, what lawyer?
I don't know which lawyer he was represented at
Well, you
some
just
point.
said you know the lawyer's been paid, and now I'm asking you what lawyer?
Okay. A lawyer back then would have been paid for him. I don't know.
What's the lawyer's name? Since you had an opinion on it, that lawyer had been paid, what is that lawyer's name?
All I said was, Mr. Sharp, if he had a lawyer, they would have had to have been paid somehow. I don't know how or who.
Okay.
So you don't know. Why'd you say that? This girl is...
You don't know how much anyone...
I did not work on the Donovan Thomas case at all.
Okay, but you just gave an opinion on it. And so you don't know how much who or how much anyone had been paid.
I just said I don't know who his lawyer was or how much or how they were paid.
So you were yapping. All credibility out the window. She's not answering questions.
The reality is Mr. Stillwell was released on bond.
Yes.
He didn't beat a murder rap. He had been released on bond.
Yes.
Okay, so claim I beat a murder rap, that was cap.
If you want to call it cap. I would say incorrect, but sure.
Bro said that was cap.
Claim that he paid a lawyer $30 for that, we don't know. We don't even know who the lawyer is.
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell's bond in the case that he paid for Donovan Thomas, do you know it to have been $500,000?
I believe it was almost, not $500,000, but it was a very high amount.
Okay, was it $500,000?
I think, if I remember correctly, it was $300,000.
Was it $500,000?
It was not.
Okay, so that was incorrect. That was cap as well, correct?
Sure.
Okay. Being charged in a high-profile case, beating a high-profile case, paying large amounts of bond would be something that would be appealing in the world of drill music. Do you deny that?
No, engaging in violence and homicide skyrocket you to the top of the corporate ladder in drill music.
Okay. In the background, we see a gas station. That is the gas station on Cleveland Avenue, correct?
I believe that's 221 Cleveland.
That's not McDaniel Street.
No.
Also makes reference to Donovan Thomas, doesn't he?
He does.
Okay. He makes reference in the hashtag Peanut Stone Grave.
Correct.
Okay. Publicly, he is tethering himself to that incident.
Correct.
Okay. I fell off 100 times. 100 times, I bounced back. Let's talk about some things that happened prior to this post. Mr. Stillwell, prior to this post, had someone drive by the green store and shoot at his head, did he not?
Correct.
Mr. Stillwell, prior to this post, was driving in a car with a young lady named Tiara Jones and another lady named Ms. Duncan, and a car sped up behind that car and started shooting at them, correct?
Correct.
And killed Tiara Jones and put Mr. Stillwell in the hospital.
Correct.
After he spoke to the investigators about the Tiara Jones case, was attacked on social media for talking to the police.
Correct.
All those things happened before he made this post about falling off 100 times and bouncing back.
A lot of things happen, yes.
Does this post ever say, I killed Donovan Thomas?
Nobody's attaching himself to the incident.
You're absolutely right. He's attaching himself to the fact that the police arrested him and people have been attacking him ever since. Isn't that true? I've been knocked down, I fell off 100 times, and 100 times I bounced back.
Objection, speculation.
SHARDT is trying to change the perspective of how the post is viewed from the juror's perspective.
How many total social media posts did you pull within a folder?
I don't know. They were all compiled into a folder of relevant posts.
Okay, you say relevant posts.
Correct.
So, who determined if they were relevant?
If they had anything to do with the hyper-violent back and forth, I felt that they were relevant to the investigation.
Okay, again, I'm going to ask, who determined if they were relevant?
Not answering the question.
It's just if I felt like they were.
So
and
you
I
determined-
would, from
you
my, as being the person that's listening and monitoring the wiretap and knowing the ins and outs of what's going on, I was able to determine what was relevant.
You determined what was relevant.
Correct.
Okay.
All she had to say was, I did.
Do you have notifications set for when people post? Are you scrolling Instagram? Are you looking at certain people's pages and not other people's pages? How are you doing it?
We're monitoring both sides of the conflict, and it's not just me. There are several people. We'd all look together.
Talking about the social media posts.
Correct. We were monitoring both sides. So part of my job is to mitigate violence. So as a conflict is occurring, we're monitoring both sides of the conflict. So when we see, it's a constant job of monitoring, to where if I see YFN down on Cleveland Avenue with a bunch of assault rifles, probably not great. So we need to monitor constantly to say, okay, we need to get more units down to Cleveland to mitigate that. So
I didn't ask if anyone in the gang unit would. I asked if you did. Did you write a report about exactly which users you were following to pick up specific posts?
Mr. SHARDT, you asked me that before, and I've told you I've compiled every user you see in the folder is who I was monitoring.
Okay. And what about is there no one else that you were monitoring that's not in the folder?
My folder pretty much covers a whole lot of people.
So this is like the lyrics popping up. Instagram pops up shit when you're playing a song on your story.
Those words, what you saying, I run with cold-blooded killers, okay? When are you saying that you collected this?
Probably 2 days or a day or two after the murder of Mr. Drinks. No, it's a song by NBA Youngboy that he chose those words to put on the post 2 days after Mr. Drinks was killed.
He chose those words?
So what this is it's an Instagram story, and you can select a song and which portion of that song. You can select anywhere from 10 seconds to 30 seconds, and you select that, and you can overlay it onto your story. That's what was done here. Mr. Nichols made the social media post, and in the post, he picked this song to accompany his post.
Right, you know what? We're not going to get back to this. Let's deal with this right now.
Jury's done for the day. It was just getting heated, man. The rest of the day was the state and defense arguing over jury instructions. They agreed to pretty much everything besides RICO. It's basically like the instructions you give the jury. They use it to decide their verdict for each count. That's pretty much it for day 162. Viverito is a terrible witness. Hit subscribe. Love you guys. Peace out.